schools under the Mennonite Education Agency of our church that has a Founders Program. If we're misinformed, we welcome to be corrected. And you might ask, what in the world is a Founders Program? And how did all this come to pass? 2011, after we were back from Egypt, and before we had gone to Vietnam in 2012, we came to Christopher Dock, and I soon learned it was no longer referred to by students as CD anymore, but Dock. So I'm adjusting to that, so mine will probably come out both ways. Laverne and I came up for a day or two to visit. And Conrad Schwarzenegger, the principal, arranged a time of informal sharing in the new library. And what a setting. And Dwayne Kaufman, Gerald Benner, Richard Lichty, Conrad himself, Eleanor Ruth stopped by, a few other teachers stopped by. And all we were doing was telling stories. Telling stories out of the past. Yes, some of these stories might be recorded in the minutes of some books and materials, but not all. And so we were having a good time. And I said to Conrad, you know, some schools have founders programs, which means you recognize the past and you bring the people of the past together with the current. Because isn't this really what education is all about? Education is a conversation between the generations. That's it. Can happen anywhere. Can happen in the supermarket. Can happen at your cabin, at your kitchen table. You have older people in conversation with younger people. That's education. What you talk about is the curriculum. And we have a great concern. What is the conversation that we have with our young people and our neighbors and our nieces and nephews? So we're all in this together. And so as we talk about these stories of the past, we recall things. There was no more colorful trustee on this board than Floyd M. Hackman. Now, Floyd Hackman was not the secretary of the board, but there were times when the secretary could not come. And you could go in the archives, and Dwayne Kaufman can show you where it is. In the minutes of a June meeting, this is how Floyd Hackman recorded it. On a beautiful June day, as the birds were warbling in the trees, the Board of Trustees assembled for their monthly meeting. He could have said, the board met. But no. Not Floyd Hackman. He wouldn't say it that way. And you know the Floyd Hackman stories. Put his own personality into that. And you can go read that minute today about the birds warbling in the trees. And so on it goes. And there are so many other stories that we could bring together. Not all people are here maybe that I might talk about, but that's okay. They had an opportunity. Some of you know John L. Ruth. Some of you may remember that back in '71, we had a Christopher Dock bicentennial. Now, what was so significant about 1971, 200 years? It was 200 years of the man's death. Isn't that a strange thing to be a bicentennial of? But we needed something to celebrate. So we celebrated 200 years since Doc left. And we made a film, The Quiet in the Land. Some of you will remember it. We had a fundraising dinner in this room, $25 a plate. Judge Taxis was here. We're all going to get the premiere showing of the film, first one's on. Everything goes in, we go to the auditorium, the projectors run, and what do we see? We see the film upside down. Judge Taxis and all. What a night. Now, I'm told that John Ruth, as he was filming that film, missed funerals and other things. He forgot about them at Rock Hill. But I think the funerals probably went on without him. And I said to John, I said, John, what is the problem with this film? He's working with Shorty Ayworth from old Collegeville somewhere. I went to church the next Sunday morning. I said to Elam Peachy, the assistant principal, I says, you take over the school. I'm going with this film until it gets done. And I went over to Collegeville. I went with John Ruth. And in one of our tangent days, you know, with John Ruth, you can have a tangent that you can go off another track. And we had a tangent. And we went to the Philadelphia Museum of Art. Back in the stacks, not out front where the ladies are checking you in and out. No, he knew his way around. We went up the steps and down the steps, looking at Frock Tour. Looking at Frock Tour. We found beautiful stuff. Remember in the bicentennial, we had the largest Frock Tour display ever down in the old gymnasium of this building in special cases built with glass tops by the late Paul F. Detweiler, as Detweiler would do it. Right. John and I are back in the Philadelphia Museum of Art. And while we're back there, I said to John, I says, John, look at this Frock Tour. What do we have that displays that kind of art heritage to our young people? I said, you know, maybe we got to do something different with the diploma. I said, we just order our diplomas from Jostens like any other school in the US of A. And they come in, and they're properly spelled, and they're all signed. But it's a flat piece of paper like everybody else's. What's distinctive about our diploma? Now, it all helped that John Ruth had a son coming up that had not yet graduated. So John Ruth also, after the bicentennial, was elected to the Board of Trustees. When I heard this, I said, oh, for goodness sakes. John will never get to any meetings. I said, that's really a bad choice for a trustee. I said, it's just awful what the conference had done. But it worked out. John was on board to get this diploma made. And I think there's a copy over here, and you've seen it. Roland Yoder, our teacher, was commissioned to develop that Frock Tour. And I don't think there's another school in the whole US of A or anyone else that has a diploma just quite like that. That came out of the back room of the Art Museum on a tangent day when we were shepherding the film. Now, George Summer is here tonight, right? Where I saw George. Where are you? There's George. We had a big job to do to get that film ready for the first public showing. That film had to go to Rockville, Maryland on a certain date by a certain time to be run through again, redeveloped and redone. And this is when I turned the school over to Elam, and I was doing that. George Summer and I went directly from this area to Rockville, Maryland, as straight a line as you could find. We never turned the car off. We stopped for gas and filled it up while it was still running, which you're not supposed to do. And we made it down to Rockville, Maryland, 15 minutes before it closed. And then we waited until the film was done and brought it back. We had a group up here in the balcony that wanted to see the real thing. And then I said, no one is going to handle this film until we show it. I meant Shorty Ayworth included. Guess what? Shorty Ayworth on Monday calls up, where is the film? I says, we have it. I need it over here in Collegeville. I says, no. Yes, we do need it over here because there's such and such to do. I thought about the bravest, strongest, most image-conscious person that I could think of. And I asked Bishop John E. Lapp, tall, serious, sober, conscientious, dedicated. I says, John, would you take this film over to Shorty Ayworth and sit there until he's done with it. Well, there's one thing to go over and take it there, but to sit there till he was done with it, John had to come back. Anyhow, we got it.